So, an investment of $15,000 receives an interest payment over 3 years of $7,200. What is the rate of simple interest per annum? So that is the question. What is the rate? Okay, let's write down the formula and see the details. Alright, in this question, slightly different question. It says an investment of $15,000. So that means you put in $15,000. So this represents the principal, how much you put in. Now that receives an interest payment over 3 years of $7,200. So that is the interest. So this is your I. Okay? The question is, what is the rate? That is the question. So if I was to label everything, this I, as we mentioned, is 7,200. The principal is 15,000 times the rate. That's what we don't know. So I'm just going to write that as R. Okay, that's what we don't know. Times by the number of years, that's 3. Okay, so as you can see, we're working backwards. So in order to find R, we just got to do the opposite of times. So divide everything to the other side. So R is equal to 7,200 divided by 15,000. Divided by 3. Okay, so instead of timesing, you're just dividing everything across. Now if I put that in the calculator, that is 0.16. Now this is not my final answer. We need to express this as a percentage because that's what rate is to change this decimal to a percentage by timesing by 100, and that is 16%. And that is per annum. So this is your final answer. Let's look at a tricky question here. So Kylie wishes to invest $3,000 at 8% per annum. How long will she need to invest for her investment to double? Let's just write down the formula. Now let's just label some of the facts that we know. Kylie wishes to invest $3,000. So this is your principal at 8% per annum. That's your rate. Now how long is the question? So in this case, that's your question. So this N is your question. Will she need to invest for her investment to double? Alright, so this is the tricky part here. Alright, so we know the number for principal, that's $3,000. We know the rate, that's 8%. So 8 over 100. Now, we don't know what N is, so that's fine. But we also need another number here to actually find N. How do we find out what that number is if the question says her investment to double? This is something you need to keep in mind. Her total investment, or that's the total amount, that is... What's the total amount? Total amount is made up of... What was her investment? $3,000. Plus the interest she's getting from it. How much... This is the question for you. What is this amount if I want her investment to double? So, double 3,000 is 6,000. So we want this total amount of investment, this to be $6,000, because that's what the question is saying. The investment is to double, that means the total amount is to double. So that means her investment was 3,000 to begin with. So if I wanted to make that into 6,000, this interest also needs to be $3,000. Does that make sense? So that's the amount that we need to replace for I. 3,000 here as well. Okay? And then from here, you just got to do your usual. Find N by just dividing everything to the other side because they're both multiplied. So N is equal to number on the other side first. You write it down. 3,000 divided by 3,000 divided by 10. I'll give you the number of years. If I just quickly put in the calculator, 12.5 years or 12 and a half years. Okay? So this is how you do this question. Okay, girls, let's go through this final question, which kind of summarizes everything. All right? We've got to fill in this table. All right, so here's your first question. So we'll give you the principal, the rate, the number of... Now, just keep in mind, this is in months. Okay? We'll eventually have to change it into years. Now, this is the question. Find the interest. So that's the calculation. My P is 3,500.
Times by the rate is 3,500.
Now, because the 22 is in months and not years, I need to do 22 over 12 because that's in months. Alright, so if I put that in the calculator, $192.50. Okay, so that's just one thing to keep in mind if time period is given in months and not years. Alright, let's have a look at this question. So we know the principal, we don't know the rate, we know the N and the I. So we've done this sort of question before. So working backwards, so if I write down the formula again, my interest is 2025. My principal is that. Times by, we don't know what the rate is, so I'll write that as R.
Times by, my N is 3 years.
That's in years, so that's fine. So how do I find R from here? Divide everything to one side.
Alright, starting with the number on the other side first. So 2025 divided by 22500 divided by 3.
And if I do that, I get 0.03. And what did I tell you about the rate? Got to times that by 100. And that's 3%. Alright, final question here. We need to find N. Okay. Alright, I hope these questions help. Now you should be able to do question 4 to 13 in the exercise. Question 14 is optional, slightly harder question if you'd like to give it a try. Thanks, girls.